Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Los Angeles and other cities across the U.S. brace for more protest. Over 400 people arrested, including 330 undocumented migrants. ICE raids continue in Omaha, detaining dozens. Deal done to get U.S. China trade truce back on track. Trump says U.S. tariffs will be set at 55%, China's at 10%. U.S. to pull out personnel from West Asia over security threats from Iran. Trump says would not allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. Israeli firing kills around 60 people in Gaza. Israeli military says forces fired warning shots in view of threat posed. India-EU free trade agreement feasible by end of 2025. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar says balanced, ambitious and mutually beneficial FTA will elevate strategic partnership. Our top story, the protest against Donald Trump's harsh immigration policies spread on Wednesday across the United States despite a military-backed crackdown in Los Angeles and threats by the U.S. president to use heavy force as cities across the U.S. brace for more protest. In Los Angeles, nearly 400 people have so far been arrested, including 330 undocumented migrants and 157 people arrested for assault and obstruction, including one for the attempted murder of a police officer. Law enforcement officials announced criminal charges against anti-ICE protesters in Los Angeles, California. 2 men were arrested on charges of possessing an unregistered explosive device after allegedly throwing Molotov cocktails at police officers in downtown Los Angeles and Paramount.
This is just the 2 cases we have been able to charge now. We are looking at hundreds of people. We have video, we have FBI collecting video, we are collecting body cam, we're collecting social media, we're collecting everything. And we're going to take our time, we're going to identify people. They think the mask is saving them, it's not saving them. We're going to identify them and we will bring charges. We will bring charges for attacks on local law enforcement. We have a federal statute for that. In a time of civil unrest, we can charge them with a federal statute.
Meanwhile, U.S. troops deployed in Los Angeles are authorized to detain people until police can arrest them, their commanding officer said on Wednesday, as hundreds of Marines prepared to move into the city as it entered a 6th day of protest. Protests over President Donald Trump's immigration raids have spread from California to other U.S. cities, with hundreds of nationwide demonstrations planned for Saturday. During an interview outside the White House in Washington, a national security expert said Donald Trump's move to deploy the National Guard troops and Marines to Los Angeles, California to respond to immigration protest.
The governor of California, the mayor of Los Angeles said things are perfectly under control, and yet the president has insisted on deploying not even a small number of troops. Right now, we're seeing 4,000 National Guard troops that have been called up, and 700 Marines. This is more troops than we have in Iraq and Syria combined right now to respond to protests that the local law enforcement say are relatively under control.
Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass condemns Donald Trump's deployment of U.S. Marines and National Guard personnel in response to immigration protests and called for an end to the federal immigration sweeps that have disrupted cities across the region.
All of us represent cities in this region where immigrants are key, and if in some cases not the majority of the population. To have people live in fear like it is today is just unacceptable. So we started off by hearing the administration wanted to go after violent felons, gang members, drug dealers. But when you raid Home Depots and workplaces, when you tear parents and children apart, and when you run armored caravans through our streets, you're not trying to keep anyone safe. You're trying to cause fear and panic. And when you start deploying federalized troops on the heels of these raids, it is a drastic and chaotic escalation and completely unnecessary.
And U.S. President Donald Trump has announced that the tariffs on Chinese goods will be reduced to 55% under a new trade agreement. With this decision, the U.S. and China have called a truce in their ongoing trade row. The deal includes a provision in which China will supply the U.S. with rare earth elements vital to major U.S. companies. The deal also removes Chinese export restrictions on rare earth minerals and allows Chinese students access to U.S. universities. Trump said a final deal is subject to approval from him and Chinese President Xi Jinping. Under the latest agreement, the U.S. will impose 55% tariffs across the board on Chinese goods, down from 145%. In return, Beijing will impose a 10% tariff on goods it imports from the U.S., down from 125%. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent called on China to uphold its commitments under an initial U.S. trade agreement reached in Geneva last month, hours after he and other U.S. and Chinese officials agreed on a new framework to implement the deal. Wednesday's announcement from Trump comes after a series of marathon negotiations were held between the U.S. and China in London. And Iran's defense minister has said his country would target U.S. military bases in the region if conflict breaks out with the United States days ahead of a planned sixth round of Iran-U.S. nuclear talks. Defense Minister Aziz Nasirzadeh said on Wednesday that Iran would target U.S. military bases in the region if the U.S. attacked it first. Washington and Tehran have held 5-round of talks since April as Trump seeks an agreement that would place constraints on Iran's uranium enrichment. Trump has repeatedly threatened Iran with bombing if it does not reach a new nuclear deal. The next round of talks is due this week, with Trump saying negotiations would be held on Thursday, while Tehran says they will take place on Sunday in Oman. Iran is expected to hand a counter-proposal to a previous U.S. offer for a nuclear deal it rejected, with Trump saying that Iran was becoming much more aggressive in nuclear talks. And the United States is preparing partial evacuation of its Iraqi embassy and will allow military dependents to leave locations around the Middle East due to heightened security risk in the region. U.S. President Donald Trump said U.S. personnel were being moved out of the Middle East because it could be a dangerous place, adding that the United States would not allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. A U.S. official said the State Department had authorized voluntary departures from Bahrain and Kuwait. The State Department updated its worldwide travel advisory on Wednesday evening to reflect the latest U.S. posture. The decision by the U.S. to evacuate some personnel comes at a volatile moment in the region. And billionaire Elon Musk said on Wednesday he regrets some of the posts he made last week about U.S. President Donald Trump in a message on his social media platform X. Trump and Musk began exchanging insults last week on social media, with Musk describing the president's sweeping tax and spending bill as a disgusting abomination. Musk's post comes days after Trump said his relationship with Musk was over. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump appreciated Elon Musk's apology hours after Musk expressed regret. White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt also told reporters at a briefing that the administration has made no efforts to review government contracts with Musk's companies.
The president acknowledged the statement that Elon put out this morning, and he is appreciative of it, and we are continuing to focus on the business of the American people. No efforts have been made on that front as far as I'm aware.
And U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance explained that President Donald Trump was frustrated with billionaire Elon Musk but doesn't want a long-term feud with him. Speaking to reporters, Vance said he spoke to both Musk and Trump to ensure the Tesla boss remains supportive of the president. He also noted that the Trump team appreciates Musk's early efforts to help streamline government operations. Now, clashes between followers of Bolivian ex-president Evo Morales and police clearing roadblocks left 2 officers dead and several wounded. Supporters of Morales, who led the Andean country from 2006 to 2019, began blocking key roads on June 2nd over electoral authorities' refusal to allow him to run for a 4th term in August 17 elections. The protests have since snowballed into a wider revolt over President Luis Arce's handling of a deep economic crisis marked by severe shortages of hard currency and fuel. Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk has won a vote of confidence in his pro-EU government after his political camp narrowly lost the recent presidential election. Some 243 parliamentarians voted in favour of the coalition government, with 210 voting against and no abstentions. This vote has been seen by some as a piece of political theatre on the part of Tusk, a way of showing his broad coalition still has the mandate despite the presidential election defeat. Wednesday's vote was also a formality. Tusk coalition has a 12-seat majority in the lower house, the session, and only a simple majority in the presence of half the 460 parliamentarians was required to win. Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. June's full moon, known as the strawberry moon, cast a soft golden pink glow as it rose gracefully above the sleek skyline of Dubai. Towering skyscrapers like the Burj Khalifa and Marina Towers were silhouetted against the luminous orb, creating a breathtaking contrast between nature's celestial beauty and modern architectural marvels. The U.S. Army parachute exhibition team, known as the Golden Knights, have been practicing ahead of a planned parachute jump in Washington, D.C. as part of Saturday's military anniversary and parade. The celebration for the U.S. Army's 250th anniversary, which will coincide with U.S. President Donald Trump's 79th birthday, includes an Army Birthday Festival on the National Mall and will culminate with a parade through the Capitol. The fans paid homage to Beach Boys co-founder Brian Wilson after it was announced he had died at the age of 82. A large blue wreath of flowers were laid on the band's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame on Wednesday to commemorate his passing. Some left handwritten notes to tribute to the man behind hits like God Only Knows, Good Vibrations, and many more. Organization for Rescue and Research of Cetaceans tracked a humpback whale visibly distressed and entangled in a rope swimming just south of Sydney Harbour. The footage shows the whale struggling as it tries to surface and dive, the rope cutting into its skin and restricting its movement. Wildlife rescue teams have launched an urgent search operation along Australia's east coast in a bid to locate and free the whale and detangle it. Still to come on this edition of DD India Live. India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal invites Swedish businesses to be an integral part of India growth story, engages with leading Swedish and Indian businesses and leaders. India is making a strong impression at Indo Defence Expo, one of Southeast Asia's biggest defence exhibitions in Jakarta.
There is something in Jharkhand for everyone. Welcome to a feast of experiences for your body and soul.
I've carried a memory of this place in me from my childhood.
From old world charms to new age excitement. From spectacular natural wonders to warm, friendly people.
Thank you.
Tune into nature with dense forests and wildlife.
कान हिला रहे ना, ये नॉर्मल है. जैसे ये कान खड़े कर लेंगे, एग्रेसिव हो जाएंगे, पूंछ सीधा कर लेंगे तो.
Make magnificent memories as you leave a piece of your heart in Jharkhand. Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar paid an official visit to Brussels from 9th to 11th June. During the visit, the minister spoke at the German Marshall Fund Brussels Forum 2025, where he highlighted the importance of India's relationship with the European Union. Dr. Jaishankar stated that India gives pretty high priority to its relations with the EU, highlighting the growing interest in Europe over the past decade. Dr. Jaishankar expressed optimism about the India-EU free trade agreement, saying that discussions have been positive and that the agreement is within sight of being finalized by the end of the year.
We are really looking at, deepening our ties. So the centerpiece is the FTA, of course, which has been under negotiation for some time now. But everything that I heard, including this morning from Commissioner Shevchovich, was very positive. A lot has been done, and everything that I heard on this trip gives me the confidence that it's within sight, yes, that by the end of the year it is feasible to do this.
And during his visit to Brussels, External Affairs Minister met European Commissioner for International Partnership Joseph Sakela. The leaders had conversations focusing on driving forward India-EU engagement in connectivity, IMEC, green shipping and clean energy. Meeting European Commissioner for Trade and Economic Security Maros Sefcovic in Brussels, Dr. Jaishankar recognized the progress in discussions for a comprehensive, balanced and meaningful FTA agreement between India and EU. The leaders agreed that it would elevate our strategic partnership that is rapidly acquiring new dimensions and facets. During the meeting with Roberta Metsola, President of the European Parliament, Dr. Jaishankar praised her positive sentiments on advancing the partnership with India in trade, technology and security. Both discussed ways to further strengthening India-EU parliamentary ties, building upon our shared values of democracy and pluralism. Now, India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal has invited Swedish business leaders to explore opportunities in India, highlighting the country's complementary strengths and potential for growth through the India-EU Free Trade Agreement. After arriving in Sweden after concluding his successful trip to Switzerland, the minister engaged in a series of meetings with counterparts and business leaders. At the highly productive meeting, the leaders discussed strengthening collaboration across sectors like clean energy, digital technology, climate, healthcare and life sciences and skill development, among others. Piyush Goyal also addressed the concluding session at the ministerial meeting of the Indo-Swedish Joint Commission for Economic, Industrial and Scientific Cooperation. He highlighted how the exchange of capital, talent and technology forms the backbone of our economic partnership, with science, innovation and technology remaining one of the most dynamic areas of cooperation. The Indian minister also engaged with Swedish business leaders at a dinner reception hosted by Sweden-India Business Council and Embassy of India. He emphasized the remarkable progress India has made in technology, innovation and R&D, backed by the strength of our skilled and talented workforce. Piyush Goyal encouraged Swedish businesses to explore opportunities in India with immense potential to collaborate and drive mutual growth.
I've come here to invite Sweden and Swedish businesses, Swedish investors, to be an integral part of this growth story. We already have a big presence of 280 Swedish companies in India, most of them manufacturing in India. But I do believe the sky is the limit. There's huge potential awaiting all of us.
Now, India is making a strong impression at Indo Defence Expo, one of Southeast Asia's biggest defence exhibitions. From advanced missiles to surveillance systems, the India Pavilion is displaying the latest in defence technology. Our correspondent Chandani Vasandani gets us this report.
I am at the India Pavilion at the Indo Defence Expo here in Jakarta. Some standout technologies being displayed here today are air-to-air missiles and wheeled armored platforms. Now, Indonesia as a coastal country may be interested in India's Varun Astra, which is already deployed and being used by the Indian Navy. There is also this airborne early warning system for air surveillance, which was already in use during India's Operation Sindoor. India is bringing its defense capabilities to the global stage at Indo Defence Expo. From June 11 to 14, the country is taking part in one of Southeast Asia's largest defense exhibitions. Some star attractions are on display here that underline India's abilities in land, sea, and air warfare. India's growing appeal as a defense exporter is backed by a surge in indigenous R&D, resulting in cost-effective, cutting-edge technology, which could be appealing to countries like Indonesia.
So basically, most of the technology which we are showcasing here, these are already in the service. Indian armed forces are using it. They are quality-wise, they are at par with the internationally available system, and most of the Indian developed system are cost-effective as compared to the other Western countries. So it will be beneficial in terms of quality as well as cost.
Outside the pavilion, nearly a dozen Indian firms are presenting a diverse array of tech, from radar and cyber defense to drone warfare and precision systems. Among these is BrahMos, known as the world's fastest supersonic cruise missile. This joint venture has become a symbol of India's high-tech, high-trust defense export capabilities.
So what we are offering Indonesia is a system which can react very fast, which has minimum maintenance and which is highly accurate. So such sort of a systems provides you the required defense posture which any country would like to have in its arsenal.
Indian companies at the Indo Defence this year are showcasing a full spectrum of India's defence manufacturing ecosystem, reflecting the country's drive to become a global hub for defence exports and innovation. Many are hoping to build new partnerships in Southeast Asia as India strengthens its Act East policy and defence diplomacy in the region. This is Chandani Vasandani reporting from Jakarta.
Countdown for the International Day of Yoga began on Wednesday, with the government expected to organize a mega event at Visakhapatnam to be led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The theme this year is Yoga for One Earth, One Health, with related activities revolving around 10 unique signature events to mark the 11th edition of the global event. The event includes Yoga Sangam, a synchronized yoga demonstration at 100,000 locations, followed by Yoga Bandhan, which is a global exchange program and knowledge session. Special features introduced this year by the government are Harit Yoga, which is a sustainability-driven initiative combining yoga with tree planting and cleanup drives, and Yoga Mahakumbh. Thus, this year's theme perfectly encapsulates India's collective aspiration for a healthier planet and a healthier humanity. People in Spain are already immersed in the spirit of International Day of Yoga 2025, embracing the ethos of One Earth, One Health. From ancient Indian wisdom to global well-being, yoga continues to unite minds and bodies across continents. In Venezuela, Indian Embassy in Caracas organized the 6th Curtain Raiser Yoga event earlier this week at the Art Gallery in the library of Simon Bolivar University in the run-up to International Day of Yoga. Around 40 yoga enthusiasts came together to embrace wellness and mindfulness in a serene yoga session. Business updates now. Gross foreign exchange reserves of Nepal stood at USD 18.40 billion, which is an all-time high, driven largely by a surge in remittance inflows. According to a current macroeconomic and financial situation report released by the Nepal Rashtra Bank, remittances increased 10.5% in USD terms. Gross foreign exchange reserves rose by 23.1% in mid-May 2025. Notably, Rs 86.11 billion was added in a single month between mid-April and mid-May 2025, strengthening Nepal's external financial position. Four major sectors as export, foreign direct investment, foreign aid and tourism are the main sources of foreign currency earnings, but in Nepal, it is the remittance that has strengthened the foreign currency reserves. And in sports, South Africa bowled Australia out for 212 on day 1 of the World Test Championship 2025 final at Lord's. Kagiso Rabada was the star of the show, picking up a sensational 5-wicket haul. Rabada dismissed openers Usman Khawaja and Cameron Green in 1 over before taking 3 more wickets after tea. Marco Jansen also chipped in with 3 wickets. Australia's Steve Smith and Boy Webster were the only notable contributors with the bat, as both scored half-centuries. In response, South Africa also lost both their openers in quick succession thanks to brilliant bowling by Mitchell Starc. Wian Mulder and Preston Stubbs too left early, as South Africa were 43 for 4 at stumps on day 1, trailing Australia by 169 runs. Alright, that's all we have in this edition of DD India Live. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.